Hello all, welcome to the lecture of another aspect of security, that is security services. It is the second aspect of security of the OSI layer. Let's begin with it. Why the security services are needed? Security services are needed to enhance the security of data processing systems and information transfers of an organization. It is not only related with an organization, but it is also related with providing the security services for the network also. It is also related with providing the security through your communication links also. Basically, providing the security services is nothing but we have to enhance, we have to increase the security measures which are being provided for the different data processing systems. Data processing systems are nothing but those systems with which we can transfer our data over the network, or we can say that our systems, the standalone machines, the desktop, the PDAs, and different medium with which we can transfer the data, they are considered as the data processing systems. Also, we sometimes say that there are different machines which processes the data into the different formats, so they can also be considered as the data processing systems, and for them also we need to enhance the security. And before transferring the data over the network, we should provide the increased amount of security to that data before the transmission over the network. That's why the security services are needed to increase the set of rules, to increase the measures for your information to get secured, to get transferred in the secured manner, which in turn also gives the security to your organization, to your organization's data. These security services are also intended to counter the security attacks. We should have security services to counter the different types of the security attacks. They should also provide us with the mechanisms which will then be useful for detecting those attacks, for preventing your systems from the attacks. So using one or more security mechanisms, we should be able to implement the different security services for our data, the different security services for our organizations, and also for our data processing systems, which we can consider as our system which we are using as the medium to transmit our data over the network. Security services often replicates functions normally associated with the physical documents. For example, we can consider the physical documents as the digital signatures, the digital certificates, the dates which we attach at the end of a document. So we need to protect from the disclosure. We need to protect from the tampering of the data. We need to protect our data from any type of the destruction which may happen over the network, or we have to protect our data from notarizing or witnessing by any attacker, or if it is being recorded, or if it is being licensed, then that license should be the proper license in the terms of security before the transmission of the data over the network. In the later chapters of this course, we will be seeing the concept of digital signatures, we will be seeing the concept of the digital certificates, which are then considered as the authentication methods for a respected document, or the authentication methods for an organization to have the secured mode for transferring of the data. Security services we have, one is X.800. It is a service provided by a protocol layer of communicating open systems, which ensures adequate security of the systems for the data transfers, or adequate security of the systems for the data, adequate security for transferring your data. That means this X.800 is considered as a standard for providing a particular set of rules, for providing a protocol layer of the communicating open system. That means whatever the communicating links are there which are being created by the network for the users to communicate amongst themselves, they should ensure the adequate security of the system. They should ensure the adequate security for your data which is being in the transit mode. They should provide adequate security for your communication link also. So this particular standard provides the set of rules to provide security to these data. Second is RFC 2828, which defines the security service as a processing or communication service that is provided by a system to give specific kind of protection to system resources. So this is another security service, this is another standard of security service which is considered as processing or a communication service provided by a system to give a kind of protection to the system resources. That means the resources which we are utilizing for processing our data, the resources which we are utilizing to transfer the data, those resources should also be secured. So this is another standard to provide security to your hardware, we can say, or the software services into your systems. Security services implement security policies, and then in turn they are being implemented by the security mechanisms. These are some of the different security services which are being provided by the X.800 standard. We classify them into 5 different types. First is authentication, access control, data confidentiality, data integrity, and the last one is the non-repudiation. These are some services which are being provided by this standard. Now, what authentication is? Authentication gives the assurance that the communicating entity is the one who has claimed for. Like suppose if Alice and Bob are communicating with each other, then Alice should authenticate to Bob that I am the only Alice who is sending data to you, and Bob should authenticate to Alice that I am the only receiver for whom you are sending the data. That means both the communicating entities should authenticate themselves. There are different types of authentication also. One-way authentication is there, two-way authentication is there, wherein in the one way only any of the entity authenticates, and in the two-way both the entities authenticate themselves. Next is the access control. This particular type of the service is used to prevent the unauthorized use of the resources. That means the one who is being given the privilege to get the access of the data will only be able to get the data. A person who has not been given the permission to access the data shouldn't be allowed to access the data. That means if we just take an example of a principal and a student. So principal has the access to access all the data of the complete institute. That means the principal can access the data of the faculties, principal can access the data of the non-technical staff, principal can access the data of the student. But a student of the same institute will not be having the privilege of accessing the data of the accounts department, will not be having the privilege to access the data of the faculties, will not be having the privilege to access the data of the principal. That means the control rights are being provided depending upon the role of a particular person. And that is the access control which prevents the unauthorized use of the resources. Next is the data confidentiality. Data confidentiality protects the data from unauthorized disclosure. That means any third party or any unauthorized person will not be able to see the data. The data will not be disclosed to any of the third party. Data integrity is the next security service provided by X.800, which gives this assurance the data received is as sent by an authorized entity. That means whatever the data is being received at the receiver's end is being sent by an authorized entity, and the amount of data which is being sent by the sender is completely received by the receiver bit by bit. That means the originality of the message is being maintained at the receiver's end. That is the data integrity. Non-repudiation, protection against denial by one of the parties in the communication, which means that if Alice and Bob are communicating amongst themselves, and if suppose Alice has sent a message to Bob, but Alice is denying from the fact that it has sent the message to Bob. That means any one of the entity or any one of the party is denying for sending of any type of the message which he has already sent. So these are the different security services which are being provided by the standard X.800. Hope you all have get this. Thank you.